He is dynamic. He's a guest speaker. Tyler Campbell's written a book. It's called The Ball Came Out, Life from the Other Side of the Field. Tyler Campbell, Christian, his brother. Earl Campbell's his father. And he joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. And this book is about to be released at the end of the week. Tyler, Craig Smoak with us. Paul Catalina, David Smoak, great to have you. So when did the idea of you writing this book even start?
Man, first off, it's so great to hear your voice, brother. It's so great to hear you guys. No, I've always wanted to, as a speaker, I've always wanted to get to the place of being able to sit down and write my own book. The only problem was, for some reason, I couldn't be my true and authentic self. Like, I couldn't get to the place of getting everything out, and over the last year, I started going through the therapy process. I started seeing my own therapist, because there are a lot of things in my life that I just, I buried and never really worked through. And so after going through the therapy process for a year, I finally got to a place where, man, I can make the pen move. I can be my authentic self. I can talk about the 12-year-old Tyler, which is where the book actually starts, and get those things out on paper. I had to have a lot of conversations with my parents, conversations with loved ones that I sat on for numerous years. I'm 35 years old. And so it wasn't until I confronted people and individuals, let people know how I really felt, that I could get to a place of writing. And so that's kind of how the book finally got written that way.
Tyler, obviously, you have a more unique background than a lot of people, seeing as your dad is an NFL Hall of Famer, and then there's expectations that maybe come through that, maybe not from him, but from yourself or the outside world of this is what your path is because this is what your dad is, and those things can weigh on you. Is that come out in this book about, how it is growing up and seeing things through maybe not your own prism, but the prism of everybody around you?
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head. Like my family, nothing but love. And I think you guys know Dad enough to know that football was literally the last thing that he wanted to talk about and wanted us to even, he didn't even want us to play. You know what I mean? And so definitely getting a window seat into that. And yes, a lot of the stuff that I built up, a lot of the thoughts that I had were not because they came from family, but because I processed things from the outside world looking in and never really got those things off of my chest, changed the way that I viewed myself, and then getting to a place of not being good at sports, being terrible at sports for a long period of time and failing expectations in other people's eyes and also navigating that life of when you do become successful. When I was labeled the number 2 running back in the state of Texas as a junior in the Texas Top 100 by Rivals.com, number 33 prospect overall, Adrian Peterson was number 1. Like, I was the number 2 junior prospect of the 2004 graduating class, not knowing how to handle success, right? And because you're viewed as that kid who didn't have it, was always a year behind. I was a year earlier, a year late than everybody graduating. So when people were turning 16, I was turning 15. And being late behind in development, all this success comes your way and not knowing how to handle it and faltering with those things. And just navigating my life. Now, people don't know it, guys. I went through the alternative education system for a stint in my high school years because I not knowing how to handle things and just growing and just giving people that real insight of who I am and myself, and being able to put those things on paper. Again, not because parents felt that way. This is just the mindset of a kid, and I internalized a lot of things and never knew how to come out with those things. That's how I felt internally.
I think you've spoken to it a lot already, Tyler, but I think there is a stigma for a lot of people out there still about, mental health or going to see somebody and talk to somebody. Like, I don't need to go talk to anybody. I'm fine. I deal with it myself. I'm tough, all that. What would you say to those type of people who are kind of locked in that mindset? Yeah,
it's no shame. Right. And I think that mindset, it's about breaking that chain. I growing up in our community, specifically, the Black community, African American community, there's a saying that's said all the time, which is what goes on in this house stays in this house. And it's that notion of we don't talk about those things, be strong and rub some dirt on it. Those can be very detrimental. And what hit me, guys, I'm married, been married 10 years, blessed to have my wife. I have children now. and knowing that my children deserve to have their full father. My wife deserves to have her full husband. And the only way that I could get there is if I took things that are previously in my life and have scarred me, have hurt me, have changed the way that I view things. Until I get those things handled, I'm doing a disservice to my family, the people who love me the most, because they're not getting that true dad or that true husband, or to my parents, that true son, to my brother, that true brother, you know? So it was looking in the mirror, and what I learned, at the end of the day, guys, I actually set myself free, you know, and that's special for me. Because when you're bound, you're worried about speaking, you're worried about coming out and talking to total strangers. And what happens if you reenact these moments in your childhood? How does that look after you relive those emotions? And what's on the other side of that is freedom, is peace, is happiness, is love. And my kids and my family deserve that, guys.
No, you're right. And I've known you for quite some time, and I didn't even know about alternative education, and that's fine. I mean, there's a reason why there is alternative education, and you know, and I know you've battled multiple sclerosis since you were when you got through that. Then you go to San Diego State, and then you deal with the diagnosis. What was that like? What was that? A punch in the gut? What was? Is that also a part of all this?
Yeah, and that's the title, right? I think as I look back over my life, I can't tell the story of my life without football. You know what I'm saying? That's impossible. I was born into a football family, so I'm not going to shun that and neglect that. The ball came out of my life many of times, guys. I fumbled the ball many times. There were turnovers, there were changes of possession in my life. But what did that life look like on the other side of the field? And that's kind of the story that I wanted to tell, was battling through that adversity of the ball constantly coming out. But there's also the life on the other side. For example, when a ball carrier turns the ball over, you know, the life on the other side of the field for the team who's recovering the turnover is really good. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I wanted to talk about the adversity moments, but also how I got through those. That's how the title came to, the life on the other side of the field. For me, when MS hit me, again, because I didn't know how to process, and I'm still living as 12-year-old Tyler, even though I'm 20-some-odd years old, I'm 220, 230 pounds, 6 foot, playing fullback and running back at San Diego State on full scholarship. I'm still navigating the world, you know, very much scared and fearful. So when MS came into my life, I never told coaches. I never told my friends. I went to see the team doctor after playing BYU. He had no idea what it was. And I was sent to Scripps La Jolla Memorial Hospital, where I had to find out on my own. It wasn't a football related injury. And so because it wasn't football related, I was neurologist, I was MRIs, I was spinal taps all by myself. It did not have anything to do with SDSU. And so, again, there I was, like, by myself in a very pivotal moment. I'm in California, my family's in Texas. I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm finding out about an autoimmune disease by myself. And my only question to the doctor was, can I still play football? I wrote that in the book. I never, to this day, had a conversation with my coaches about my diagnosis because I didn't want to lose a scholarship. And I think a lot of that goes underneath the table. And you guys know this, especially with spring sports, basketball. Like, your scholarship is honored, you know, on a year. People lose scholarships, right, guys?
Yeah.
This happens, right? That your scholarship, it can be lost. And I was terrified about if I told somebody that my scholarship would be gone, whether or not that was true or not. I'm just saying that's how Tyler interprets it. So that's why I never told anybody. And so becoming the first one to play Division I college football, I had no idea that's what I was doing. I was just a kid who wanted to keep his scholarship because I graduated early, my business management degree, that spring. I got diagnosed in December. I was graduating the spring. I didn't want to inhibit that. And I signed my letter of intent, meaning I had a commitment to my teammates. And I didn't want to jeopardize that. So it was out of fear that I played the game. It was out of fear. I didn't want to lose it. I wasn't ready to stop playing ball. That's what propelled me.
Tyler, you know, we've had your dad on a bunch of times, and one of the things I can see kind of overlaps is that you guys are both really introspective people. He is astoundingly introspective or observant of the world. What are your conversations together like when you're just talking about life? Because you're both very deep dudes.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a lot of conversations about fatherhood, right? And my dad didn't have his dad very long. And for him, his greatest joy, outside of meeting my mother, was like having children of his own and him we're 30 some odd years old. My dad didn't get to have those conversations with his dad at 30 some odd years old. He only got up until 11. So it's more, our conversations are more now about life. He knows I'm a speaker. Him and Christian are more business oriented and sports oriented. Me and my dad are more life oriented, family oriented. And most people don't know it. My dad got his degree in speech communications. My dad's a speaker, guys. He went to the Moody College of Communications. So dad gets it when I tell him I don't have to rehearse speeches. I just get up there. Like, he's like, that's how he is. So the greatest gift that I inherited from my father wasn't necessarily the football aspect. I rock and vibe with him on a deeper level because I inherited the speeches. And if you knew my grandmother, Earl Campbell, you would know that she was fantastic about relationships, about words, about loving people. And that's what I think I drew more from Earl Campbell than anything. Just people and valuing relationships.
Man, you couldn't have said that better. By the way, and your grandmother had great cheeseburgers too, right?
Oh, some of the best in the world, guys. Come on, we still can't duplicate it.
No,
bro.
no.
Great.
You almost wish you could have frozen and sealed about 10,000 of them, because you could have started a business. The first time I was ever invited over there to have one of those, and Margaret's the one that invited me, and I was like, oh my God. I mean, this is real stuff. So we've discussed MS, we've discussed your education, also the pressure of being the son of a Heisman Trophy and Hall of Famer across the board, and a great man. You and Christian also had, as you were growing up, had to watch your father deal with a lot of things, prescription drugs, and a lot of what he had. You had an intervention with him. How much was that a freeing moment for both of you? Because obviously he accepted that 100% the right way.
Yeah, I think that, and I think like that moment of peace, of knowing that he was gonna be okay, is the biggest level of comparison that I can put into what I feel now with the book. And it's when we knew that Dad was willing to accept that and confront that, there was a peace and there was an ease from all of us, because we knew that he was gonna be taken care of, that he wouldn't harm himself or harm somebody else. It was also one of the hardest conversations I've ever had in my life, but you had to ask yourself, do you want to keep your dad around? And it paralleled with me in the book, because for me, it's like, it's going to be some of the hardest conversations that you have to have, Tyler. But do you want to be around, for your children and for them to be able to see you and love you at the best you? And so those were the things. Like, it's funny how the Man Up Above works. And so I honestly feel like with preparing Dad, with those hard conversations that me and Christian had to go through, you fast forward 10, 15 years down the road, that was a stepping stone precedent for what I had to go through in my own personal life. And that's why he's one of the biggest heroes to me, because he could humble himself. He could get off the pedestal, know when he was wrong, know when he was right. And then, watch this, put the work in to make the wrongs right and to not run from them. That's why he's my hero. Y'all have, the world has the football guy. I got the dad. I got the best part.
No, he's we love Earl, no question about it. Now, go ahead and tell everybody the book comes out here in a day or two, how they can find it, where they can find it, and really, again, we appreciate your time talking about your life and being transparent, which is something you have to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thank you guys, and keep up the great work. There's a reason why y'all have been on the air. It's about of a level of consistency, and that's something to always be admired. The book is always on. It's going to be on Amazon. As of right now, it's funny, guys. Smoak, I sent that over to you. As far as the Amazon new sellers hot list, it's the number 2 book in the country right now.
Wow.
And that's special. And people have only bought the ebooks. The hardbacks and the paperbacks go on sale on Friday. And it's just a very special moment. I never thought, I didn't think people read ebooks. So if you guys go online, you can go ahead and pre-order your ebooks right now if you would. But the hardbacks and paperbacks, they'll come out on Friday, and you'll see that. But it's Tyler Campbell, and it's the ball came out. Life on the other side of the field. And I thank you guys so much for having me on. I really do. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, Tyler, definitely appreciate you, man. And before you go, my mother Cindy's obviously very involved with the Earl Campbell Award. I do some stuff with that as well. And I know that the banquet was a couple weeks ago and couldn't be exactly like everybody wanted because of COVID and all of that. But it turned out to be a great event. And Bailey Zappi of Western Kentucky, the winner. I know Deuce Vaughn was there as well. And your thoughts on Bailey Zappi and the group of finalists that you guys had for the award this year.
Oh, come on, guys. You know I'm excited. I went to a smaller school.
Yeah.
So I'm screaming and I'm jumping for joy. You know that, guys. I'm from San Diego State University.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like my man has numbers. Let's go for the numbers. Look, you can't knock the talent on the field. So for me, as a guy who did go to University of South Carolina like Christian, and I didn't go to the big school of University of Texas like Earl, give my man his flowers. You hear me?
Yeah.
So I was ecstatic, and I come from a small school, humble heart, and I'm glad, guys, and it's awesome, right? You see like the Campbell family name, and it gets passed on to other families, and their families become our families. So I'm ecstatic about the way this thing has gone down. But I'm not gonna lie to you and not boast about this one being from a smaller school. Okay, I'm excited. I'm Giraffe Kitty and Hippo happy.
That's
baby.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tyler.
I'm telling it, man. Come on now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And here's another thing that people don't need and that do need to know. You can tell this young man is a motivational speaker, so contact him for that as well, because he will blow away.
Book him right now.
He will blow away your audience. Tyler, love you. Thank you so much.
I love you guys.
All right.
Love you guys, and thank you. Have a great show, guys.
Thanks,
Tyler Campbell, the Amazon book again, opening the window. The life, an inspirational story. The ball came out, life from the other side of the field. I did not know about he had some academic issues in high school at Westlake on his way to San Diego State. I've known about multiple sclerosis and a lot of other things he's dealt with, but it's great to hear from him, and his brother Christian's a great kid too. Great young man too.
No joke though. If you want a good public speaker, and I'm not just saying that, but the Campbell family, they're good people, man. They're down and honest and true good people, and Tyler's great. Obviously most people know Earl, of course, but Tyler and Christian both are great reps for the family. And go out and buy that book, or go out and book him for a speaking gig, because you'll get your money's worth.
I've read some of the advance that he sent over, and it's really interesting. One of the things he mentions, and I've got an idea for the second Campbell family book, is he talks about how when Earl retired and they started Earl Campbell Sausage, he was determined to make it successful. And there are, by the wayside, many athlete-sponsored brands of things that just cratered. But Earl Campbell Sausage has stood the test of time.
And it's damn good, too.
Very good. I also don't think Earl would put himself on something like, this tastes like paper. No, it's going to be good.
And there's
fantastic.
a backstory to that business success. It didn't just like immediately hit. And there's a company that he hooked into. And it was, man, they've done a great job. And I'm not just saying that because we love Earl Campbell, but his Earl Campbell Sausage is truly unbelievable.
It's
the hot
legit,
links and much more. They've done a great job with that. And they've branched out with much more. My buddy Eric Horton called me the other day. He goes, hey, have you ever seen any more of that Earl Campbell rub as far as for barbecue and brisket? I was like, I haven't seen any of that. And I need to call and text Earl to find that out. By the way, from Scotty B, very solid interview with Tyler. From Matt Carver, Al Kier, great analyst. Please have him back before the draft. We will do that. And even Daniel Acton. Man, Tyler got excited when the small school kid was mentioned. Love it. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard